Alright, having some technical difficulties here, which is going to happen at some point, isn't it? So, okay, so, hang on a minute. Okay, so welcome to day 10 of this compassionate response to getting the pronunciation wrong, the coronavirus pandemic. So this week we're focusing on the 5 Buddha mandala and the inspiration verses that are going to help us get through the dangerous path, the Bardo's dangerous pathway. And yesterday we looked at a little bit at Akshobhya, the imperturbable, the blue Buddha, and today we're going to look at Ratnasambhava, who's the yellow Buddha, who's associated. Her symbol is the jewel, so he's obviously associated with things like feelings of abundance and gratitude and appreciation, those sorts of things, and beauty. So this is a picture of Ratnasambhava there. Like he's got the hand gesture or mudra of generosity. So he's out of that sense of overflowing abundance. He just wants to give. So we'll be looking at at him a bit later, and looking at the verses from the inspiration verses from the Bardo Tadol, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. But before we do that, we'll begin with a little bit of body work. So if you want to stand up, we'll just do a bit of warming up. Okay, I'll kneel down to do this. Okay, so just beginning by drumming on your head. So I'm going to sense that what we're trying to do is contact the reality that is our physical experience, and rub your hands together and up your arms. Just put your forehead in your palms of your hands, and just curve your neck over so that you're just holding your head. It's a really nice feeling to just hold your head, and just let your mind slow down. So there's a sense of turning away from the world and turning towards yourself and your feelings, how you feel at the moment. So Ratnasambhava is associated with feeling your warm breath on your wrists. Enough time to into your body. So we have an hour here in this class. Just having a sense of an abundance of time. So our body is a lot slower to respond than our mind, so we just need to give it enough time to respond. And then just getting onto the top of your back, onto your spine, just giving it a stimulating whatever it is, beating up. And try to ask yourself, well, what would my body really want me to do in this situation, rather than just staying with what your mind is comfortable with. So your body probably would like a bit of vigour. And then the other side. And then down your arm. And onto the back of your hand. Try to make it hurt a little bit. That's quite good for a sign that you're waking up. And then palms of your hands. If you get your base of your fist like that, and just and then up the inside of your arm. And the other side, down your arm. And back of your hand. And then palms. Up the inside. And then on your chest. And then just circling on your stomach. The hands. Okay, we're going to do just a little bit of vigorous face and hands movement. So in the in the Maori tradition, you know, you get this, which the New Zealand rugby team copy their haka from. You know, it's like they do this. So it's like what you do is you try and open everything up: your eyes, your mouth, your hands, and your chest. And just imagine that there's some sort of evil spirit in front of you, and you're going to go so really try to project that energy forward from the belly. So we need as much energy as we can get in meditation. Really expel all the air of your lungs. It looks crazy, I know. Open your mind up as well. Now take a few deeper breaths, just let some air in. And just lightly drumming on your kidneys. And then on your buttocks and backs of your legs, more heavily. And then down your legs. Get your feet if you can. Okay, and then shake everything out. And then just putting your hands on your belly and just let yourself calm down a little bit. Let your breath calm down. And on an out breath, just bend your knees. So just going down. I'm kneeling. It's a bit weird with this, but so going down on the out breath, coming up on the in breath, and then down on the out breath, and up on the in breath, and down on the out breath, and up on the in breath. Now, next time you go down on the out breath and bring your hands up from your hips to your chin, and then down on the out breath, turning at the hips, up on the in breath, down on the out breath, up on the in breath, down on the out breath. And then next time just keep going up past your chin, into the air, out to the sides, and then down again, up through the middle of your body, out to the sides, and then down. Last one, up through the middle of your body, out to the sides, and then down, and then just coming to rest. And then just taking up a seat, you know, so if we're going to, just going to listen to me talking for a bit, but in a minute later on we're going to do some meditation. So just moving to wherever you're going to be sitting. Hello, Kiruna Seva from Germany. Welcome. Okay, so this morning we're looking. Well, we've been looking at the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the 5 Buddha Mandala, and I'll just reiterate some of what I was saying earlier in the week. So, in the Tibetan tradition, you have something called you have a book called the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and so after we die, and you could see this as we always need a strategy for everything, whatever situation that we're in. So it's like it's best to just not assume that we really know, one way or another how things are, what's going to happen. So when we die, this is a bit of a strategy to deal with, and it's Buddhist teachings really as to how to keep going in whatever situation that we're in, and so this is how to keep going mentally and emotionally in the situation after you've passed away. And in Buddhism we sort of talk about rebirth, that you get reborn, but this isn't something that you can ever really know or confirm in your experience, because it's not accessible. So it's a question of choosing to believe that or not believe it, because that has a consequence for you. It might be that if you choose to believe it, then you can stay more relaxed in this life, and you don't have this feeling that everything just stops. And therefore, if you think that everything just stops, maybe what happens is, like, we stop a bit in life. You go, oh, well, what's the point? It's all going to stop at death. So it's quite helpful to have a sense that things don't stop, that your life continues to have a consequence for yourself and for others, in any situation. So in the period after you die, you get this intense white light comes towards you, and it's so bright that you can't take it in, and what tends to happen is you kind of recoil from it and look for something familiar. This is the clear light of reality that's appearing to you. So what the Buddha invites us to do is to not just move away from it, not avert your eyes from it, but to move towards it. But we can't really do that often, because it's unfamiliar, it's intense, and what happens then is that you get these different Buddhas appearing. So there are 5 major peaceful Buddhas in the Tibetan tradition that are called the five Buddha mandala, and they appear one after another. So yesterday we dealt with the blue Buddha Akshobhya, who appears, and then after Akshobhya, the yellow Buddha Ratnasambhava, which means jewel producing one or jewel born, appears. And this is what it says in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So just sitting comfortably and just taking this in, if you can. Hey, noble one, listen without wavering. On this 3rd day, the yellow light, that is the purity of the element earth, dawns. At this time, from the yellow southern Buddha land of Srimat, the yellow Lord Ratnasambhava appears, seated on a fine horse, carrying a precious wish-granting gem, in union with his consort Mamaki, attended by the male bodhisattvas Akashagarbha and Samantabhadra, and the female bodhisattvas Mala and Drupa, a group of 6 Buddha deities in a background of rainbows, rays and lights. The yellow light of the equalizing wisdom, the purity of the sensation aggregate, yellow and piercing, dazzling and clear, adorned with glistening drops and droplets, shines from the heart of the Ratnasambhava couple before you. penetrating your heart centre, unbearable to see with your eyes. At the same time, the soft blue light of the human realm shines before you, penetrating your heart in parallel with the wisdom light. At that time, under the influence of pride, you panic and are terrified by that brilliant, energetic yellow light, and you flee it. You feel a liking for that soft blue light of the human realm, and you approach it. But at that time, you must fearlessly recognise that brilliant, yellow, piercing, dazzling, clear light as wisdom. Upon it place your mind, relaxing your awareness in the experience of nothing more to do. Or again, be gladdened by it with faith and reverence. If you can recognise it as the natural energy of your own awareness without even having to feel faith or make prayers, you will dissolve indivisibly with all the images and light rays, and you will become a Buddha. If you do not recognise it as the natural energy of your own awareness, then pray and increase your love for it, thinking, it is the light ray of the compassion of Lord Ratnasambhava. I take refuge in it. It is the tractor beam of the light rays of the compassion of Lord Ratnasambhava. Have faith in it. Don't be enticed by that soft blue light of the human realms, for that is the path of destruction from the sins you have accumulated by your fierce pride. If you cling to it, you will fall into the human realms. You will experience the suffering of birth, sickness, old age and death, and you will find no time for liberation from the life cycle. It is an obstacle blocking the path to liberation. Don't look upon it and abandon all pride. Abandon its instinct. Don't cling to it. Don't long for it. Have faith in that dazzling bright yellow light. Aim your one-pointed willpower towards the Lord Ratnasambhava and make the following prayer. When through intense pride I wander in samsara, on the luminous light path of the wisdom of equality, may blessed Ratnasambhava go before me, his consort Mamaki behind me. Help me to cross the Bardo's dangerous pathway and bring me to the perfect Buddha state. By praying in this way with intense faith, you will dissolve into the rainbow light in the heart of the Lord Ratnasambhava couple, and you will go to the southern Pure Land, Srimat, and attain Buddhahood in the body of perfect beatitude. So this is what happens on the third day after we die, if you choose to believe that. So the text mentions it mentions pride, and it also mentions the wisdom of equality. So Ratnasambhava is associated with abundance. You know, as I said earlier, it's like his hand is held out in the mudra or hand gesture of generosity, and in this particular time we're in, so this is the dangerous path. This is the Bardo's dangerous pathway that we're in now. You know, the difficult situation that we're all in with the coronavirus. So how do we respond in a way which is a bit akin to Ratnasambhava? And what I thought was that I think I said it 2 days ago. It really helped me to rejoice in the good qualities of a friend. You know, it took me out of myself. So pride in Buddhism is like it's like a self-concern. It's like I'm better than. It's also I am worse than, and it's also I am the same as. It's like thinking about ourselves and not thinking that we're the same as everybody else. We're all in the same boat, and we're all able to help each other or hinder each other. So what are we doing for the world, for everybody? You know, that's the thought that we might have instead. You know, rather than how, you know, am I just thinking how am I doing here? So I just thought that one thing I would like to do is to just say a little bit about a friend of mine called Jinananda. So Jinananda used to be at the West London, well, he was at the West London Buddhist Centre in Notting Hill when I first came along to Buddhism in 1988. And he's a writer, and people used to kind of compare him a bit to Hugh Grant. He had a real kind of gentlemanliness about him, and here's a picture of Jinananda. And so Jinananda, he helped me a bit, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, trying to get my book out, which still isn't out. But I said, well, why are you helping me with this? He says, I'm just fed up with it. I want to get it out there. And his command of English was so amazing, really. And he became quite a well-known reader. So on Naxos audiobooks, he reads things like what was it? The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, and he's had hundreds of thousands of people buying that audiobook, and he's kind of well known in that world. He also has written 3 books, and so what I wanted to do was to read something that he wrote about the point where the Buddha is about to gain enlightenment, and you know, this is the description of what happens in the final watches of the night before he gains enlightenment. So this is from Warrior of Peace by Jinananda, The Life of the Buddha. In the first watch of the night, as the world silvered over with the rising of the full May moon, Gautama began to recognize and acknowledge all the myriad conditions that patterned together through his life, and he saw was a continuing process. He looked back at all the details of his experience of life, further and further back, beyond even his early childhood, until some kind of invisible barrier gave way, and he found himself surveying someone else's life as if it were his own. he found himself recalling every detail of that life, and then of a life before that. Lifetime after lifetime passed before his vision in a moment, each one at once alien and intimate, strange and familiar, both himself and not himself. As they did so, he saw the moral and spiritual articulation of every one of those remembered lives, how the world that this person created around him became the world in which a further life was lived. He saw the ripples caused by certain actions forming into waves as they were repeated over a lifetime, and carrying over into another life to recreate the happiness or misery out of which those actions were originally performed. And he saw that this knowledge was also his freedom from any notion of a fixed self, and from the whole cycle of life and death. He saw with unerring clarity how this endless process is sustained simply by the mind's ignorance of its own nature, which is to be without any limitation whatsoever. The hot night advanced, and Gautama saw the patterning of his own conditioning interwoven with that of all other beings. As his vision encompassed and embraced in compassion the experience of beings everywhere, he saw how beings throughout the universe, in every realm of existence, from the denizens of hell right up to the gods of the highest heaven, reaped the consequences of their actions. He saw that existence was determined by consciousness, that the world as it was experienced was formed from the mind. He saw beings born along on a current of conditions that they constantly regenerated and constantly modified. He saw that nothing is forever, whether heaven or hell, and that all these beings, whether demons, gods or humankind, were bound upon an ever-turning wheel of their own creation, taking them from heaven to earth and from earth back up to heaven or down to hell. He saw that these realms were all mind created, brought into existence not by a God of rewards and vengeance, but by the desires and delusions of those who inhabited them. Helpless in the grip of their craving, hatred and ignorance, they stirred his heart to profound compassion. For he saw that they would continue thus to seek rebirth as long as they cherished an idea of themselves as bounded and separate from other beings, or by any fixed and unchanging idea of themselves. They would continue in this endless round as long as they failed to realise that their true nature was beginningless, endless, boundless, and open as the sky. Finally, in the last hours before the sky began to lighten, the fundamental implications of what he was seeing came into focus as he contemplated his experience more and more deeply, more and more broadly. His awakening was not an experience as such. There was nothing to experience and no one to experience it. His feeling was not just a feeling of freedom, not just a vision of reality. It was a realization of the nature of freedom and the way to freedom. The progression of positive mental events that he had cultivated actually arose out of the endless round of ignorance, craving and suffering. It arose out of seeing that cycle and seeing that a different set of conditions could be set up, one that would not just continue a cycle of mutual dependence, one negative thought arising in reaction to another. This positive cycle, he could now see, was actually a spiral of progressive conditions, each one augmenting the one before, and there was no end to that spiral. So just closing your eyes. And just letting your body just sit there. Just having a sense of the patterns of your own life. And the way in which sometimes often you or I turn away from this sense of boundlessness and abundance towards this kind of much smaller perspective, smaller self-referential perspective. And trying to see that we always have this choice. We can move towards the bright, intense yellow light of Ratnasambhava, or towards the smoky blue light of the human realm and pride and conceit and fear of not having enough and holding things to ourselves. But we have the choice to move in the other direction towards the brighter, more intense wisdom of equality, where we see everybody as like ourselves, see how we're interconnected with the world. See how well other people contribute towards our lives. So just tuning into our feelings. And just saying a mantra to ourselves, or saying 3 phrases to ourselves, just gently dropping them in to our mind, to our heart. There is enough time. There is enough abundance. There is enough love. Just let those words just sink down into your psyche, into your heart, and affect how you feel. There is enough time. There is enough abundance. There is enough love. There is enough time. There is enough abundance. There's enough to go around. There is enough love. There is enough time. There's enough to go around. There's enough love. There's enough time. There's enough abundance. There is enough love. There is enough time. There is enough to go around. There is enough love. There is enough time. There is enough to go around. There is enough love. Just imagine that you're turning towards the bright yellow light of Ratnasambhava and away from the blue light of the human realm of pride and conceit and limited self-view. Just imagine that your right arm is becoming a bit energetic, becoming activated. By that yellow light as you turn towards it. Just imagine that there's something wants to express itself out of your hand, some giving, some generosity. And just think, what do you want to give from that hand? One thing you could give is some appreciation of somebody that you know in the comments box. Or is there some way in which you can help somebody else today in the midst of our lockdown? So, we need to act with wisdom, so we want to be careful we don't give anyone the virus, but is there a way we can help that where we're going to be completely safe in doing that? Just having a sense that other people's lives are as valuable as our own. We all feel the same about our lives. We all don't want to suffer, we don't want to die. We want to be happy, we want to experience abundance. So this is something that Ratnasambhava just sees completely clearly and is passionate about. So at the end of the meditation, maybe just write down on a piece of paper 2 things. So write down somebody that the name of somebody that you appreciate, and write down something that you'd like to try and do to help another person. So again, this is just a free choice, but just let it, anything, just if you're having trouble writing something down, just try and reconnect with that bright yellow light. Try to let it activate your right arm and your hand, and just see what comes from that hand. What's your hand telling you to do? Jai Bhim Ravindra. Okay, so that's the end of today's session. I'm going to be on the process of putting these videos up onto YouTube, so I'll just tell you what the channel is called. It's Mindfulness 1.0, yeah, so hopefully it'll be easier to share the different videos. So I'm going to keep doing these sessions. I don't know when I'm going to stop actually. So I've just set myself a target of just keeping going. You know, a work a day kind of attitude. You know, just keep going to work, keep getting up, keep doing these every day, and to see what happens. So none of us know what's going to happen, do we? You know, in the future, coming months. So, yeah, I just want to kind of commit myself to doing that. And if I'm not here, there'll be some technical difficulty or something like that, which we had this morning. I couldn't get on to Facebook, onto the live thing didn't work. So, but yeah, we're back again. Okay, so maybe like reflect on your homework a bit. You know, that idea of rejoicing in somebody's qualities, like I did with Jinananda, and also, you know, to help somebody today. But have it, don't sort of have it coming from a sort of should perspective. So I think the way things work more is that, you know, our emotions, which fuel us really, and you know, they're the drivers of everything, don't come about through willing them. They come about through clarity about how things are. So if we really see something clearly, if our view is really clear that people need help, you know, then we'll want to help them. You know, it's not about we should help them, because that's that has no, there's no reason in there at all. You know, we need to see a reason. We need to see in our heart, you know, that there's a real reason for doing anything. So yeah, so maybe reflect on that. You know, the connection between your views on the one hand and your emotions on the other. And try to cultivate views that lead you into into wanting to do things that are going to help people. So if we keep reflecting on the Dharma, that does that. If we keep reading Dharmic texts, that does that. It brings those emotions into being, because the Dharmic texts just talk about the needs of the world. So yeah. So that's it for today, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.